Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Lemley, MSEA president. I'm here with Saru Jayaraman, and she's the president of One Fair Wage, which you're about to hear about. And you're not afraid of this tiny desk because you two are also kind of small. Sometimes we're putting big people in these.
Right.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
bet.
for having me.
Well, we had today an event that I'm really proud of. So tell our listeners, our watchers, tell the internet what you do and why you're here.
Well, I lead an organization of 300,000 restaurant and service workers across the country, about 7,000 restaurant worker members here in Maryland, representing a workforce of 100,000 restaurant workers here in Maryland and 13.6 million restaurant workers nationally. And we've been fighting to raise wages for all workers and end the subminimum wage for tipped workers for 25 years. And it feels like this is our year. There's an affordability crisis. And it's time for a living wage for all.
I had a history lesson downstairs. You got to boil it down.
Okay.
But why do workers in some industries get tipped and therefore have a lower than minimum wage?
You know, believe it or not, tipping was not prevalent until emancipation. After emancipation, restaurants basically wanted to be able to hire newly freed Black women, not pay them a wage, and force them to live only on tips. That's not what tipping was. Tipping was always an extra or bonus on top of a wage for generations. But basically, in order to get free Black labor, tipping was introduced in the U.S. as a way to let restaurants basically hire Black workers for free. That's why we have a wage in the United States of $2.13 an hour federally for tipped workers and $3.63 here in Maryland. And it's not an accident. It didn't happen organically. There's a trade lobby led by big, powerful restaurant corporations called the National Restaurant Association. We call it the other NRA. It's been fighting to maintain that ridiculous sub-minimum wage. And guess what, Paul? That means that you and I and everybody who eats out, when we tip, our tip doesn't go to the worker. It's taken by the restaurant to cover their obligation to pay the worker a minimum wage.
And in education, we're not strangers, unfortunately, to wages that are not enough. We have about 13,000 education support professionals in Maryland who don't earn $25 an hour. So let's zoom over to living wage. What's the concept that we're trying to promote here in terms of just raising the minimum wage for everyone?
So there's something called the MIT Living Wage Calculator.
Right.
It's what MIT economists say is the least that you need to survive right now anywhere in the United States. And in the state of Maryland, that MIT Living Wage Calculator says if you have even one kid, even if you have two working adults, you actually need closer to $30 or $35 an hour to survive, just to cover the basics of life. So we are fighting for a minimum wage of at least 25. That's not even honestly enough for multiple kids, but it is enough for at least one person to actually meet the cost of living, which right now so few people in the state can do. Not your paraprofessional staff, not restaurant workers, not retail workers. In fact, a third of Maryland workers earns less than $25 an hour. That means more than a third of workers don't earn enough to meet the cost of living.
Right. And that's why the we. Right? So there's a we going on, One Fair Wage, MSCA, AFSCME, SEIU 1199 and 500. There's a coalition.
That's right.
And this idea is kind of popular among
Oh my
voters.
God, it's so popular.
Right?
Like, as you've heard, affordability is defining every election right now. So the polling is showing actually the top issue right now is the cost of living. And voters overwhelmingly want to see legislators do something to help them meet the cost of living. And I got to tell you, Paul, that cannot just be driving down costs. Because over the history of the United States, we've never seen the overall cost of living go down or backwards. So pretending that we're going to address affordability just by lowering costs, it's not going to happen. We have to put more money in people's pockets. We have to raise wages to allow them to meet the cost of living.
And last bit, I heard that my neighbors, my voters, our friends who are likely to come out and vote, you're not alone if you think the minimum wage should be increased.
In fact, across the political spectrum, right, red, blue, purple, almost all voters in the U.S. and in Maryland agree that when you work, you deserve to earn enough to have one job, have a roof over your head, and be able to feed your family. And the data shows, even the governor's pollster, Fred Yang, show data that actually putting this issue on the ballot is going to drive out hundreds of thousands of unlikely voters who typically don't turn out to vote to be able to go vote themselves a raise.
Right. Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the work.
Thank you.
It's been a career and a lifetime for you. So welcome to Maryland, which
Thank you.
visit from time to time, and
Yes.
thanks for working with us today.
Thank you so much for your leadership.